Crypto mining is taking a hit in Kazakhstan as they hike the tax rates. This is coming from CoinDesk. The tax rate will depend on electricity usage and average electricity price and power source. Kazakhstan President Kasim Jomart Tokayev on Monday signed into law amendments to the tax code to increase levies on crypto miners, a move he had called for in early February to counter the nation's struggle with electricity shortages. In February, he said that the rate of one Kazakh tang, or is it tenge? I feel like it's tang, per kilowatt of power is negligible, and instructed the government to increase the tax as soon as possible and to come up with a full proposal for crypto mining regulation by April Fool's Day. The one tang tax came into effect on January 1st. The new tax rate will be determined by the average price of the electricity consumed to mine coins during a certain tax period, according to a copy of the amendments published on hosting site zakon.kz. The range is between 1 tang per kilowatt hour if a miner is paying more than 24 per kilowatt hour for electricity to a tax of 25 per kilowatt hour if a miner is paying less than 1 per kilowatt hour, according to the amendments. The law effectively brings the price of electricity, including tax, to around 25 tang, or the equivalent is 5 cents per kilowatt hour, with some exceptions. And that's actually pretty high for, basically not a first world country. 5 cents a kilowatt hour is still where at kind of in some places in the US where you can still get power for that price. That is about the maximum price that miners are looking for in other countries such as the US and Canada. So there you go. Miners that use their own electricity, an example of behind the meter consumption, will pay 10 per kilowatt hour in taxes, whereas those who use renewable energy that they produce will pay 1 tang per kilowatt hour, according to the amendments. The amendments will go into effect on January 1st. So the miners have basically a year. I would assume that you probably start to see some sort of hash rate move out of Kazakhstan, because there will be surrounding countries that the miners can migrate to. And the only reason they really migrated there was because of China, even as the article goes on to say. Crypto miners flocked to Kazakhstan after China cracked down on the industry last year. The Central Asian country once had an electricity surplus, but since the influx of crypto miners, the national grid has been struggling to meet demand. The government shut off power to crypto mines in January. CoinDesk has earlier reported that Kazakhstan has been trying to root out the mining operations that don't have proper licensing to reduce the load on the country's energy grid. In March, Kazakhstan announced the closure of 106 mines, seizing 67,000 machines worth $193 million. In May, the government required crypto miners to register their operations with authorities. At the same time, Kazakhstan has been trying to bring crypto exchanges to Kazakhstan Nur-Sultan, previously called Astana, and the capital city of Kazakhstan. The nation claims to test a pilot project for the creation and operation of cryptocurrency exchanges in the Astana International Financial Center, AIFC, which was founded in 2018 with the goal of becoming a Central Asian financial hub. So, as far as we're talking about with Kazakhstan and what's going to happen there, their pricing on mining, or specifically as it relates to mining on electricity, is going to be 5 cents a kilowatt hour, or the equivalent of, after taxes. If it's not on renewables, then you have then you have possibly, additional rate hikes later on. For the size of the country and the infrastructure that is in place already, it's not fantastic there. So really, a lot of miners are probably going to move out of there to other more friendly nations, I feel like, especially when you consider the fact that 5 cents a kilowatt hour is like what miners are paying even in the US, right? But maybe the U.S. will be a third world country after all. Inflation gauge jumps to a fresh 4-decade high of 9.1% and Bitcoin falls. The new consumer price index reading keeps pressure on the U.S. central bank to further tighten monetary policy aggressively at its next meeting later in July. Inflation tracked by the U.S. Consumer Price Index rose 9.1% in June, accelerating from May's 8.6% pace to a fresh 40-year high, exceeding economist expectations. Bitcoin's price fell 4.2% to about 19,200 in the minutes after the report was released. The Federal Reserve may now have to keep tightening monetary conditions aggressively to tamp down inflation. Cryptocurrencies across the board had been trading higher Wednesday in the hours leading up to the CPI release, with Bitcoin trading at $19,786 in the early hours. The cryptocurrency, which is supposed to serve as an inflation hedge for some traders, is down nearly 70% since the inflation started accelerating in October of 2021. I would like to say that does coincide, conveniently or inconveniently, depending on how you look at it, with the halving cycle as well. So it's kind of a weird spot where we see, Bitcoin following traditional markets with this in relation to responding to inflation. However, is that true, or was this going to happen anyways with the pricing of Bitcoin just due to the regular halving cycle? And that's kind of where I'm at a loss personally. I'd like to hear your thoughts and opinions, of course, in the comment section as well as live chat. The June price data might end up representing a peak in the inflation rate, given that oil and gasoline prices have declined. Quote, there are certainly positive signs that would indicate the worst is behind us, end quote, said Jonathan Silver, founder and CEO of Affinity Solutions, a global insights firm tracking consumer purchasing habits. The job market remains strong, which is putting money in people's pockets. However, price increases are still outpacing people's paychecks. Hopefully, this trend will reverse itself as inflation reaches its peak and begins to dissipate. Our purchase spending data suggests that this is in the direction we are headed in, he said. The Federal Reserve's Monetary Policy Panel, the Federal Open Market Committee, is scheduled to meet July 26th to 27th to discuss further monetary tightening. The fresh inflation high could give central banks the green light for other aggressive rate hikes. The Fed has prioritized the battle to stabilize price over any push for economic growth at this point in time. Is there a risk we could go too far? Certainly there's a risk, said Jerome Powell during a recent conference at a European Central Bank forum. The bigger mistake to make, let's put it that way, would be to fail to restore price stability. According to one widely used definition, 2 consecutive quarters of slowdown in gross domestic product would mean that the U.S. is in a recession. But Powell and other central bankers point to the strong labor force, which shows signs the economy is still very strong. Yeah, but a definition is a definition for a reason. Spending over the coming months will be contingent on a variety of key factors, including a potential lockdown resurgence. I'm going to refer to it as that. The war in Ukraine, if supply chain pressure eases, as well as the effect of rate hikes on consumer spending, Silver said. It will be interesting to see what happens after the summer hangover recedes and we get a clearer picture of the state of the economy, the war in Ukraine, and the lockdowns. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Crypto Mining Show. You can check out the full episode here or more crypto content down here. Also, I'd like you to check out my locals page at sonofatech.locals.com where you can become a member for free or choose to be a $5 a month supporter that unlocks additional content.